The notification chimed at exactly 5:47 a.m., cutting through the silence of our bedroom like a knife through butter. I didn't need to look at the screen to know it was from Natalie. My wife had developed this habit of texting me her excuses rather than facing me directly. Spent the night at work again. Big presentation today. Don't wait up for breakfast. I stared at the glowing screen, my coffee growing cold in my hands. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, Alex Bishop, 34 years old, supposedly the tech-savvy one in this marriage, and yet I'd been blind to what was happening right under my nose for months. But not anymore. I typed back with deliberate calm. No worries. I'll be at Tara Dalton's place this morning. You know, Eric's wife? We should compare notes about our hard-working spouses. I hit send and waited. The response came faster than a heartbeat. What? Alex, what are you talking about? Nothing at all, I replied. Just thought it might be interesting to chat with someone who understands the challenges of being married to such dedicated professionals. My phone started ringing immediately. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to Natalie's panicked voice stumbling through explanations about overtime and client emergencies. The same stories she'd been feeding me for 3 months. 3 hours later, I heard her key in the lock. She burst through the door like a woman possessed, her usually perfect blonde hair disheveled, her designer suit wrinkled, the same suit she'd worn yesterday. Alex, we need to talk, she said, her voice shaking. I don't know what game you're playing, but... Game? I looked up from my laptop, keeping my expression neutral. I'm not playing any games, Nat. I was just making conversation with a fellow spouse. You know how it is. Sometimes you need someone who understands your situation. Her face went pale. What situation? Alex, you're scaring me. You're not acting like yourself. That was rich. I'd been acting exactly like myself. The accommodating husband, the understanding partner, the guy who never questioned her late nights or weekend emergencies. The problem was, myself had been an idiot. I'm acting exactly like myself, I said. Maybe you're just not used to paying attention. The thing about being an IT consultant is that people underestimate you. They see the quiet guy who fixes their computers and assume you're not paying attention to anything else. They forget that the same skills that let you debug complex systems also make you pretty good at spotting patterns in human behavior. Natalie had been sloppy. The late nights that coincidentally aligned with her boss Eric's travel schedule. The new lingerie that never made an appearance at home. The way she'd started pronouncing certain words differently, picking up Eric's slight Boston accent. But the real giveaway had been her laptop. Alex, please, she said, sitting down across from me. I think you're having some kind of breakdown. Maybe we should call Dr. Peterson. Dr. Peterson, her therapist friend who'd been coaching her on how to handle my jealousy issues. Another piece of the puzzle I'd figured out last week. I'm fine, Natalie. Better than fine, actually. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in months. She reached across the table, her hand trembling slightly. Honey, you're starting to worry me. This isn't like you. You're usually so trusting, so... Naive? I suggested. Gullible? Easy to manipulate? Her hand froze halfway to mine. I never said that. No, but your friend Monica did. Last week at Dave's bar. She said I was vanilla, and that you deserved someone with more ambition, someone more like your boss. The color drained from her face completely now. You were listening to our conversation? Hard not to when you're sitting 3 tables away. You weren't exactly whispering. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'd been meeting my best friend Dave for our usual Thursday night drinks when Natalie and her crew had walked in. They'd been loud, probably already a few drinks in, and their conversation had carried clearly across the bar. Monica doesn't know what she's talking about, Natalie said quickly. She was just being dramatic. You know how she gets. And Jess? Was she being dramatic too when she asked if you were upgrading your husband's situation? Natalie's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Alex, I can explain. I'm sure you can. You've always been good with explanations, creative even. I closed my laptop and stood up. I need to get ready for work. Real work, not the kind that requires overnight stays at the office. As I walked toward the bathroom, I heard her whisper, How long have you known? I paused in the doorway. Known what exactly, Natalie? That you've been cheating on me with Eric Dalton? That you've been lying to me for months? That you've been planning to leave me but wanted to make sure your promotion went through first? Her sharp intake of breath told me I'd hit the target. Or did you mean, how long have I known about the folder on your laptop labeled contracts that's actually full of your love letters and hotel receipts? She made a sound somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Pro tip, I said, turning back to face her. If you're going to have an affair, maybe don't save everything in a folder with the most obvious fake name possible. And definitely don't leave your laptop open when you're supposedly working late. The beautiful thing about being underestimated is that people get careless around you. They assume you won't look, won't question, won't dig deeper. Natalie had been treating me like a piece of furniture for so long that she'd forgotten I had eyes and a brain. Alex, please let me explain. Save it, I said. I've got work to do. As I headed for the shower, I was already planning my next move. Natalie thought she was playing chess while I was playing checkers. She was about to learn that I'd been studying the board a lot longer than she realized. And unlike her, I actually knew how to win. The beauty of working in IT is that you understand how information flows. You know which platforms people actually check, which forums they trust, and most importantly, how to make something spread without leaving fingerprints. By lunchtime, I'd crafted the perfect email. Not from my account, of course. I wasn't stupid. A simple anonymous Gmail with a subject line that would guarantee it got opened. Thought you should know about Natalie. The recipient list was carefully curated. Monica, Jess, and 3 other women from Natalie's social circle. The kind of women who lived for drama and had never met a secret they couldn't share. The email was brief and devastating. I'm writing this anonymously because I don't want to get involved, but I thought Natalie's friends should know what's really going on. She's been having an affair with her boss Eric Dalton for months. I have proof if anyone wants to see it. Hotel receipts from the Marriott downtown, restaurant reservations for 2 at Romano's, always on nights she told Alex she was working late, and some very interesting text messages. Just thought you should know the truth about your friend. I attached 3 pieces of evidence: a photo of a hotel receipt I'd found in Natalie's purse, a screenshot of a dinner reservation confirmation email, and one particularly steamy text exchange between her and Eric that left nothing to the imagination. Then I hit send and waited. The response was faster than I'd expected. Within an hour, my phone buzzed with a call from Dave. "Dude, you need to check the neighborhood Facebook group right now," he said without preamble. I pulled up the page and felt a grim satisfaction wash over me. Someone, probably Monica, based on the writing style, had posted a thinly veiled request for advice about a friend who's cheating on her husband. The comments section was already exploding. OMG, is this about who I think it's about? I knew something was going on with those 2 at the company party. Poor Alex. He's such a nice guy. Wait, Eric Dalton? Isn't he married too? My phone rang. Natalie. Alex, what did you do? Her voice was shaking with rage and panic. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing. Everyone's asking me about Eric. I have no idea what you're talking about, I said calmly. I've been working all day. Don't lie to me. Someone sent Monica photos of hotel receipts. How did they get those? Maybe you should be more careful about where you leave your evidence, I suggested. Or better yet, maybe you shouldn't be creating evidence in the first place. This is insane, Alex. You're destroying my life over nothing. Nothing? I let out a laugh. Natalie, you've been screwing your boss for 3 months. You've been lying to me, gaslighting me, and planning to dump me as soon as your promotion comes through. But sure, let's call it nothing. The line went quiet for a moment. Then, how could you do this to me? I'm your wife. You were my wife. Now you're just someone who happens to live in my apartment and share my last name. I hung up and immediately got back to work. Phase 1 was complete, but I was just getting started. By evening, the situation had escalated beyond my wildest expectations. Natalie came home looking like she'd been through a war zone. Her eyes were red and puffy, her hands shaking as she poured herself a large glass of wine. They're all turning on me, she said without looking at me. Monica, Jess, everyone. They're saying I'm a terrible person, that I'm a homewrecker. Aren't you? She whirled around, wine sloshing over the rim of her glass. Yes, you bastard. You did this. You ruined everything. I didn't ruin anything, Natalie. I just stopped pretending I didn't know what was happening. But even as I said it, I knew she wasn't going down without a fight. Natalie had always been good at playing victim, at turning situations to her advantage. I should have expected what came next. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The first few were from Dave, increasingly frantic. Dude, call me back now. Alex, there's some serious stuff going down. Whatever Natalie's saying about you, I know it's not true. The rest were from coworkers, neighbors, even my own sister, all asking variations of the same question. Was it true that I'd been cheating on Natalie? I called Dave back immediately. She's claiming you've been having an affair, he said without preamble. Posted this whole sob story on Facebook about how she discovered your secret relationship. And that's why she's been staying late at work, because she couldn't bear to come home to a cheating husband. My stomach dropped. What? It gets worse. She's got screenshots of text messages supposedly between you and some woman named Lisa. And Monica and Jess are backing her up, saying they always suspected something was off about your behavior. I felt the walls closing in around me. Natalie had turned the tables completely, painting herself as the wronged wife and me as the cheating husband. The evidence looked convincing. I had to give her credit for that. The screenshots are fake, I told Dave. I don't even know anyone named Lisa. I believe you, man, but a lot of people don't. Your HR department called, didn't they? They had. I'd ignored the call, but the voicemail was clear. I needed to come in for a meeting about concerning allegations regarding my conduct. Natalie had played this perfectly. She'd taken my evidence of her affair and flipped the script, making me look like the guilty party trying to deflect blame. It was brilliant, really. Diabolical, but brilliant. As I sat there processing the magnitude of what she'd done, my phone rang again. Unknown number. Alex Bishop? The voice was crisp, professional, with just a hint of a Boston accent. Yes? This is Tara Dalton, Eric's wife. I think we need to talk. Tara Dalton was nothing like I'd expected. Where Natalie was all blonde highlights and designer clothes, Tara was understated elegance. Dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, minimal makeup, wearing jeans and a blazer that probably cost more than my monthly salary but looked effortless. We met at a small cafe downtown, the kind of place where you could have a private conversation without being overheard. She was already seated when I arrived, nursing a black coffee and studying me with the calculating gaze of someone used to reading people for a living. You look exactly like Eric described you, she said as I sat down. Harmless. Thanks, I think. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. It wasn't meant as a compliment. Eric has a tendency to underestimate people. It's one of his many flaws. I ordered coffee and studied her face, trying to read her intentions. How long have you known? About Eric and your wife? 3 weeks? About Eric in general? She shrugged. Years. This isn't his first rodeo, Alex. It's just the first time someone's been stupid enough to document everything so thoroughly. You've seen the evidence? Hotel receipts, restaurant bills, text messages that would make a sailor blush. Your wife really doesn't understand the concept of operational security, does she? I found myself liking Tara Dalton despite the circumstances. She had the same sardonic edge I'd been developing lately, the same appreciation for irony. So what do you want from me? I asked. The same thing you want, I imagine. Justice. Or revenge. I'm not particularly picky about the terminology. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Eric thinks he's untouchable. He's got the company backing him. He's got your wife convinced that she's the love of his life, and he assumes that you and I are too weak or too stupid to fight back. And are we? Weak? Maybe. Stupid? Her smile turned predatory. Definitely not. Tara laid out what she knew with the precision of someone who'd been building a case. Eric had a pattern. Young, ambitious women who worked under him. He'd promised them promotions, advancement, a future together. Then, when he got bored or when things got complicated, he'd find a way to make it their fault. The woman before Natalie was transferred to the Seattle office after Eric decided she was too clingy, Tara explained. The one before that was let go for performance issues, right after she started asking when he was going to leave me. And you stayed with him through all of this? I'm a lawyer, Alex. I believe in building an airtight case before I make my move. But more than that, I wanted to make sure that when I took him down, it would be permanent. She pulled out her phone and showed me a video. Eric, clearly drunk, bragging to someone off camera about his conquests and how easy it was to manipulate desperate housewives looking for excitement. This was taken at his company's Christmas party last year. He was talking to his buddy from college, thinking no one else could hear them. The video was damning, but I could see the problem immediately. It's not specific enough. He doesn't mention Natalie by name. Exactly, which is why I need your help, and why you need mine. She explained her plan with the methodical thoroughness of someone who'd been thinking about this for a long time. Eric's company was having their annual gala in 2 weeks. It was a big deal, black tie, open bar, all the local business elite in attendance. Eric was scheduled to give the keynote speech, and Natalie was being honored as Employee of the Quarter. It's perfect, Tara said. Maximum audience, maximum humiliation. We can destroy both of them in front of everyone who matters in their professional world. How? Leave that to me. I have resources you don't. But I need you to keep gathering evidence. Everything you can find, photos, documents, recordings, anything that proves the affair and shows the timeline. I thought about Natalie's fake screenshots, about the lies she'd spread about me, about the way she'd turned my own friends against me. What about the stuff Natalie's been saying about me? The fake cheating allegations? Tara's expression hardened. We'll deal with that too. I've already had my investigator start looking into the metadata on those screenshots. Spoiler alert, they're not very good forgeries. She reached into her purse and pulled out a business card. This is my private number. Call me if you find anything new, or if Eric or Natalie try anything else. As she stood to leave, I had to ask, why are you helping me? You don't even know me. Because Eric destroyed my marriage, humiliated me professionally, and made me question my own sanity for 2 years, while he gaslit me about his business trips and late meetings. And because your wife is just the latest in a long line of women he's used and discarded. She paused at the door. But mostly because I'm tired of being the understanding wife who suffers in silence while my husband treats our marriage like a joke. After she left, I sat in the cafe for another hour, processing everything she'd told me. For months, I'd felt like I was going crazy, like I was the problem in my marriage. Now I was starting to understand that Natalie and Eric had been playing a much bigger game than I'd realized, and they'd picked the wrong opponents. That night, I went through Natalie's laptop again, this time with a more systematic approach. I found email threads I'd missed before, calendar entries that aligned perfectly with Eric's travel schedule, and a document titled Career Goals 2024 that made my stomach turn. The document laid out her 5-year plan in brutal detail. Promotion to senior account manager within 6 months, transition to Eric's department within a year, marriage to someone with real ambition and connections within 2 years. There was even a section about managing the Alex situation, strategies for making me look unstable so that when she eventually left, no one would blame her. I screenshot everything and sent it to Tara. Her response came back within minutes. Perfect. This is exactly what we need. The gala is going to be very interesting. As I closed the laptop, I realized that for the first time in months, I was actually looking forward to something. Natalie thought she was playing chess while I was playing checkers. She was about to learn that I'd been studying the board a lot longer than she realized. The 2 weeks leading up to the gala were a masterclass in psychological warfare. Natalie had doubled down on her victim narrative, telling anyone who would listen about her abusive husband and his jealous delusions. She'd even started seeing Dr. Peterson more frequently, no doubt building a paper trail to support her story. But I had Tara, and Tara had resources. The beauty of being married to a serial cheater, she told me during one of our planning sessions, is that you learn to document everything. I've been building a file on Eric for 3 years. She showed me bank statements proving Eric had been funding hotel stays and expensive dinners for months. Credit card receipts that lined up perfectly with Natalie's late work nights. Even GPS data from Eric's company car that placed him at our apartment building on days when I was supposedly out of town. How did you get all this? I asked. I'm his wife. We have joint accounts, shared credit cards, and Eric's not nearly as smart as he thinks he is. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Tara had connections at the venue. Her law firm had handled their contracts for years. Getting access to the AV system would be easy. The hard part was timing everything perfectly. We get one shot at this, she reminded me. If we screw it up, they'll know we're working together, and they'll find a way to discredit everything we have. 3 days before the gala, Natalie came home with a new dress, a stunning black number that probably cost more than I made in a week. For the awards ceremony, she explained, not quite meeting my eyes. The company's paying for it, of course. Of course, I agreed. Wouldn't want their employee of the quarter to look anything less than perfect. She studied my face, probably trying to figure out if I was being sarcastic. Alex, I know things have been difficult between us lately, but this award means a lot to me. It could really open doors for my career. I'm sure it will. Maybe after the gala we could talk. Really talk, I mean. About us, about our future. I almost felt sorry for her. She still thought she was in control of the situation. Still believed she could manage me like one of her PR campaigns. Sure, Natalie. After the gala, we'll definitely have a lot to talk about. The night of the gala, I positioned myself at the bar with a perfect view of the main stage. The venue was packed. Easily 300 people, all dressed to the nines and ready to celebrate another successful year for Eric's company. Natalie looked stunning in her new dress, working the room like the professional she was. Eric was in his element too, playing the role of the successful executive, shaking hands and making small talk with clients and colleagues. Neither of them noticed me watching from across the room. Tara was there too, playing the part of the supportive wife. She'd even brought Eric a boutonniere, pinning it to his lapel with a smile that would have fooled anyone who didn't know what was coming. The awards ceremony began at 9 o'clock sharp. Eric took the stage to thunderous applause, launching into his prepared remarks about teamwork and dedication and the importance of going above and beyond for the company. "And now," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the sound system, "I'd like to recognize someone who truly embodies these values, someone who's shown incredible commitment to our organization, often working late into the night to ensure our clients receive the best possible service." The spotlight found Natalie in the crowd. She looked radiant, basking in the attention and applause. "Ladies and gentlemen, our employee of the quarter, Natalie Bishop." She made her way to the stage, accepting the Crystal Award with a gracious smile. The crowd applauded as she began her acceptance speech, thanking Eric for his mentorship and guidance. That's when Tara made her move. The lights dimmed as the AV system switched from the live feed to what appeared to be a highlight reel of the company's achievements over the past year. But instead of corporate milestones, the screen filled with something much more interesting. A text message thread between Eric and Natalie, enlarged so that everyone in the room could read it clearly. Eric: "Can't wait to have you all to myself tonight. Natalie: Alex thinks I'm working late again. He's so gullible. Eric: Poor guy. He has no idea what he's missing." The crowd's murmur started low but grew louder as more messages appeared on screen. Hotel reservations, dinner receipts, photos of Eric and Natalie together at restaurants around the city. And then the piece de résistance. A video clip of Eric at last year's Christmas party, drunk and boastful, describing in graphic detail how easy it was to seduce lonely housewives looking for excitement. The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, the sound of 300 people suddenly understanding exactly what they were witnessing. On stage, Natalie stood frozen, the award still clutched in her hands, her face cycling through expressions of shock, horror, and rage. Eric was frantically trying to get to the AV controls, but Tara had anticipated that too. The system was locked down tight. The final slide was a split screen. On one side, Natalie's text to Eric saying, "I love you and can't wait to start our life together." On the other side, Eric's message to a different woman from 6 months ago. "You're fun, but let's not make this more complicated than it needs to be." The lights came back up to reveal a room full of stunned faces. Natalie had dropped the award, the crystal shattering on the stage floor. Eric was red-faced and sweating, trying to regain control of the situation. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice shaking, "there's been some kind of technical malfunction. Actually," Tara's voice cut through the noise as she stood up from her table, "there hasn't been any malfunction at all. Everything you just saw is completely accurate." The room fell silent. "My name is Tara Dalton," she continued, her voice carrying clearly without the microphone. "I'm Eric's wife. Or rather, I was Eric's wife until about 10 minutes ago." She held up a manila envelope. "These are divorce papers, served in front of 300 witnesses. I thought it was appropriate, given how public Eric likes to make his private life." The crowd was eating it up. Phones were coming out, people were recording, and I could already imagine the social media explosion that was about to follow. Monica and Jess, Natalie's supposed friends, were huddled together at a corner table, whispering furiously. As I watched, Monica pulled out her phone and started typing rapidly, probably already crafting her own version of events for Facebook. Eric tried one more time to salvage the situation. "This is a private matter that has no bearing on our company or our business relationships." "Actually," I said, standing up from my position at the bar, "I think it has quite a lot of bearing." All eyes turned to me. Natalie's face went white as she realized I'd been there the whole time. "You see," I continued, walking slowly toward the stage, "when your employee of the quarter has been manipulating company resources for personal gain, and when your keynote speaker has been using his position to coerce subordinates into relationships, that's not really a private matter anymore." I pulled out my own phone and held it up. "I've been recording this entire evening, every reaction, every attempt at damage control, every moment of this spectacular implosion. And in about 30 seconds, it's all going live on every social media platform I can think of." The room erupted again. People were talking over each other, some trying to leave, others pressing closer to get a better view of the drama unfolding. Eric finally lost his composure completely. "You son of a—" he started, lunging toward me, but he never made it. Hotel security, alerted by the commotion, intercepted him halfway across the room. As they escorted him toward the exit, he was screaming about lawsuits and defamation and how he was going to destroy everyone involved. Natalie, meanwhile, had finally found her voice. "Alex," she said, her voice breaking, "please, we can work this out. We can fix this." I looked at her standing there on the stage, her perfect dress and perfect makeup unable to hide the fact that her perfect plan had just fallen apart completely. "No, Natalie," I said. We really can't. And then I walked out of the gala, leaving her standing alone on the stage with 300 witnesses to her humiliation. Outside in the parking lot, I found Eric's prized Audi, the one he'd been so proud of, the one he'd used to impress Natalie on their first date. Tara was standing next to it, holding a can of spray paint. "I thought you might want to do the honors," she said, offering me the can. I looked at the pristine black paint, then at the woman who'd helped me orchestrate the most satisfying evening of my life. "What did you have in mind?" Her smile was absolutely wicked, something that will really make an impression. 20 minutes later, Eric emerged from the hotel to find his car decorated with the words "cheater" and "liar" in bright red letters, with a few creative additions that would make it impossible for him to drive anywhere without explaining himself. The look on his face was worth every moment of planning, every sleepless night, every second of doubt I'd had about whether I was doing the right thing. As Tara and I watched him discover his newly redecorated vehicle, she turned to me with a satisfied expression. "Phase 1 complete," she said. "Ready for Phase 2? The video from the gala went viral within hours. Not just locally, nationally. Someone had live-streamed the entire meltdown, and by morning it had been shared thousands of times with captions like, "Epic cheating scandal exposed at company party," and "Wife serves divorce papers in most savage way possible." Natalie's phone started ringing at 6 a.m. and didn't stop. Reporters, bloggers, her mother calling from Phoenix in hysterics. I listened to her fielding calls from our bedroom, her voice getting more desperate with each conversation. "No, Mother, I can't just fix this with an apology. No, I don't think Alex is going to take me back. Yes, I understand this reflects poorly on the family." By noon, she'd been fired, not just demoted or suspended, terminated immediately for conduct unbecoming and violation of the company's ethics policy. Eric had been forced to resign as well, though his golden parachute would cushion the landing considerably better than Natalie's abrupt ejection. "They're making me the scapegoat," she told me when I came home from work. She was sitting at our kitchen table, surrounded by tissues and empty wine bottles. "Eric's the one with power. Eric's the one who pursued me. But somehow I'm the one who gets blamed for everything." "Maybe because you're the one who's married to someone else," I suggested. "Don't be sanctimonious, Alex. You're not exactly innocent in all this." "Really? What exactly did I do wrong?" She gestured vaguely at the laptop, at the mess of her life scattered across our apartment. "You violated my privacy. You humiliated me in public. You destroyed my career over a mistake." "A mistake?" I laughed, and the sound surprised both of us with its bitterness. "Natalie, you had a 3-month affair. You planned to leave me. You tried to make me look crazy when I figured it out. That's not a mistake. That's a campaign." Her phone buzzed with another call. She glanced at the screen and declined it immediately. "That was Channel 7, she said. "They want an interview. They want me to tell my side of the story." "What story would that be? The one where you're the victim?" "I am a victim, Alex. Maybe not of you, but definitely of Eric. He promised me things, made me believe." "Made you believe what? That cheating on your husband was a good career move?" She was quiet for a long moment, staring at her phone. When she looked up, her expression had hardened into something I didn't recognize. "You know what? Fine. You want to destroy me? Go ahead. But I'm not going down alone." That should have been my first warning. 2 days later, I woke up to find my car keyed and my apartment building's lobby covered in flyers. Someone had printed out dozens of copies of a photo, me and Tara talking at the cafe where we'd planned the gala operation, with text underneath reading, "Cheating husband plots with mistress to destroy innocent wife." The photo was real, but the context was completely fabricated. Anyone looking at it would assume Tara and I were having an affair, that our partnership had been romantic rather than strategic. My phone was ringing before I'd even made it back upstairs. "Alex, what the hell is this?" Dave's voice was tight with concern. "There are pictures of you and some woman all over social media. People are saying you've been cheating on Natalie this whole time." "It's not what it looks like," I said, but even as the words left my mouth, I knew how weak they sounded. "Then what is it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been playing both sides of this thing." I tried to explain about Tara, about our alliance, about the plan to expose Eric and Natalie, but even to my own ears, it sounded like the kind of story a guilty man would tell. Within hours, the narrative had shifted completely. Natalie was no longer the cheating wife. She was the victim of an elaborate setup orchestrated by her cheating husband and his mistress. The gala wasn't justice, it was revenge porn, a public humiliation designed to cover up my own infidelity. The fake screenshots of my supposed affair with Lisa were making the rounds again, this time with additional context that made them look more believable. Someone had even created fake social media profiles for this fictional woman, complete with photos and a backstory that placed her in my life at exactly the right times. It was masterful, really. Natalie had learned from watching me work, had understood that the best lies are built on a foundation of truth. The photo of Tara and me was real. Our secret meetings were real. Our coordinated attack on her and Eric was real. She just changed the context to make us look like the villains. My boss called that afternoon. "Alex, I'm going to need you to take some time off while we sort this out. There are allegations about your conduct, and with all the media attention..." "The allegations are false," I said. "Maybe so, but the company can't afford to be associated with this kind of scandal right now. Take a week, let things cool down, and we'll reassess." A week turned into indefinite leave when someone sent my company's HR department a detailed dossier of evidence proving my affair with Tara. Bank records showing cash withdrawals that allegedly went to hotel rooms. Restaurant receipts that proved nothing but looked suspicious when presented the right way. Even testimony from witnesses who claimed to have seen us together in compromising situations. It was all fabricated, but it was convincing fabrication. Tara called me that evening, her voice tight with fury. "Eric's fighting back. He's hired some kind of crisis management firm, and they're throwing everything they have at discrediting us." "Can you prove the evidence is fake?" "Some of it may be, but Alex, this is going to get worse before it gets better. Eric has resources we don't have. He can afford to wage this kind of war." She was right. Over the next few days, the attacks escalated. Someone hacked my social media accounts and posted messages that made me look unhinged. My apartment building received noise complaints about parties I'd never thrown. My credit rating took a mysterious hit when several bills I'd never received went into collections. Eric was systematically dismantling my life, using the same techniques he'd probably used on his previous victims. The difference was, this time he had Natalie helping him, and she knew exactly where to hit me where it hurt most. The breaking point came when I found her in our apartment, packing her things into suitcases. "I'm leaving," she announced without looking at me. "I can't stay married to someone who would do what you did to me." "What I did to you?" "The public humiliation, the lies about Eric and me, the affair with that lawyer." She shook her head sadly. "I tried to forgive you, Alex, but I can't pretend anymore." It was a performance worthy of an Oscar. If I hadn't known the truth, I might have believed it myself. "Where are you going?" "That's not your concern anymore." She zipped up the last suitcase and turned to face me. "My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce proceedings." "Your lawyer?" She smiled, and for a moment I saw a flash of the woman who'd planned this whole thing from the beginning. "Eric's lawyer, actually. He's been very helpful in explaining my options." After she left, I sat in the suddenly empty apartment and tried to process what had just happened. In the span of 2 weeks, I'd gone from the wronged husband to the cheating villain. My wife was gone, my job was in jeopardy, and my reputation was in ruins. But as I looked around at the wreckage of my life, I realized something important. I wasn't done fighting. Natalie and Eric thought they'd won, thought they'd successfully flipped the script and made themselves the victims. They'd underestimated me once, when they assumed I'd never figure out their affair. They were underestimating me again if they thought I'd just roll over and accept defeat. I picked up my phone and called Tara. "Ready for phase 2? I asked when she answered. Her laugh was sharp and dangerous. "I thought you'd never ask." The beautiful thing about being systematically destroyed by someone is that it gives you nothing left to lose. When your reputation is already in ruins, when your job is gone and your marriage is over, you can take risks that would have been unthinkable before. Tara and I spent the next week gathering ammunition, real ammunition this time, not just evidence of the affair, but proof of the coordinated campaign to destroy us. Bank records showing payments to the crisis management firm, email chains between Eric and the fake witnesses, digital forensics proving that the Lisa social media profiles had been created from Eric's office computer. The beauty of hiring professionals to ruin someone's life, Tara explained as we reviewed the evidence, is that professionals leave paper trails. We also had something else, something I'd been saving for exactly the right moment. During one of our secret meetings, I'd recorded a conversation between Eric and Natalie where they'd discussed their strategy for discrediting me. They'd been careless, thinking they were alone in Eric's office, not realizing that the building's security system included audio recording in all executive offices. Getting access to that recording had required calling in every favor I'd ever earned as an IT consultant, but it was worth it. 47 minutes of Eric and Natalie planning my destruction, complete with discussions of fabricated evidence and paid witnesses. "And we need to be smart about how we release this," Tara warned. "If we just dump everything online, they'll claim it's doctored or taken out of context." "What do you suggest?" Something public. Something they can't control or spin. She smiled. I have an idea. The plan was elegant and brutal. Eric's company was holding a damage control press conference, trying to salvage their reputation after the Gala disaster. They'd scheduled it for the lobby of their downtown headquarters, with local media invited to hear Eric's full explanation of recent events. According to the press release, Eric would be setting the record straight about the malicious attacks on his character and announcing his plans to sue me and Tara for defamation. We decided to crash the party. The press conference was scheduled for 2 p.m. on a Friday. By 1:45, I was positioned across the street with a clear view of the building's entrance. Tara was inside, having entered through the parking garage using her keycard access as Eric's soon-to-be ex-wife. At exactly 2 p.m., Eric took the podium. He looked confident, polished, every inch the successful executive who'd been wronged by vindictive enemies. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, I'm here today to address the vicious lies that have been spread about me and my company. The recent attacks on my character represent a coordinated campaign of harassment by individuals who... That's when Tara made her move. The building's PA system suddenly crackled to life, and Eric's voice from our recorded conversation filled the lobby. The key is making Alex look unstable. If we can establish a pattern of erratic behavior, nobody will believe anything he says about us. Eric's face went white as his own words echoed through the building. He frantically gestured to his staff to cut the audio, but Tara had locked down the system from the security office. Natalie's voice joined the conversation. What about the fake screenshots? Will people believe them? They don't have to believe them completely. They just have to doubt Alex's version of events. Once we plant that seed of doubt, we can build whatever narrative we want. The reporters in the lobby were frantically taking notes and recording everything. This wasn't just evidence of an affair anymore. It was proof of a conspiracy to commit defamation and fraud. But we weren't done. As the recorded conversation continued, detailing their plans to fabricate evidence and bribe witnesses, I walked into the lobby with a briefcase full of documents. Excuse me, I said, approaching the podium where Eric stood frozen. I think you dropped these. I opened the briefcase and scattered papers across the floor. Bank records, email printouts, witness statements, all the evidence we'd gathered proving Eric and Natalie's campaign against us. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I announced, I'd like to present the real story behind recent events. The next 30 minutes were chaos. Reporters shouting questions, Eric trying to escape through the crowd, security guards unsure of whose orders to follow. In the middle of it all, Natalie appeared from somewhere, her face a mask of rage and desperation. You son of a... she screamed, lunging at me with her fingernails extended. I stepped aside, and she stumbled into a reporter, sending both of them crashing into a potted plant. The whole thing was caught on camera by at least 6 different news crews. Careful, Nat, I said as she struggled to get back on her feet. Wouldn't want to add assault to your list of legal problems. That's when Eric completely lost control. You think you've won? He shouted, his face red with fury. You think this changes anything? I'll destroy you. I'll destroy both of you. I have resources you can't even imagine. Actually, Tara's voice came through the PA system one more time. You don't. The screens around the lobby lit up with a new display. Eric's bank records, showing massive withdrawals over the past month. Money that had gone to crisis management firms, private investigators, and various other professionals hired to ruin our lives. The problem with spending your wife's money to destroy your wife, Tara's voice continued, is that your wife might notice. Eric's face went from red to purple. You can't do this. Those are private financial records. Actually, as your spouse, I have every legal right to access our joint accounts. And as someone you've been systematically trying to destroy, I have every moral right to defend myself. The final piece of our revenge was the most satisfying. As Eric stood there, surrounded by reporters and evidence of his crimes, building security approached him with an escort. Sir, you're going to need to come with us. There's been a complaint filed about your conduct, and we need to remove you from the premises. This is my building. I work here. Actually, one of the security guards said, consulting his clipboard, according to our records, your employment was terminated this morning. Something about misuse of company resources and violation of your contract. As they escorted Eric toward the exit, he turned back to me with pure hatred in his eyes. This isn't over, Alex. You think you're smart, but you have no idea what you've started. I walked over to him, close enough that only he could hear what I said next. Eric, I'm an IT consultant. I solve problems for a living. And you? I smiled. You're not a problem anymore. You're just a cautionary tale. The last thing I saw as they dragged him out was Natalie, standing alone in the middle of the destroyed lobby, surrounded by reporters and evidence of her lies, finally understanding that her perfect plan had been perfectly destroyed. As I walked out of the building, Tara fell into step beside me. "So," she said, "how does it feel to win?" I thought about it for a moment, looking back at the chaos we'd left behind. "Like justice," I said. "It feels exactly like justice." Behind us, I could hear Natalie screaming at the reporters, trying to explain away the unexplainable, trying to salvage something from the wreckage of her lies. But I didn't look back. I was done with that chapter of my life. The story ended exactly where it should have, with the truth finally exposed, the guilty parties facing consequences, and the wronged husband walking away victorious. Sometimes the good guys really do win,